1 part snow, 1 part sunshine, stir gently with a shovel and pour into the Pacific. And that is how the Dane and the Pain is made. This week is all about products. We talk about the interesting and creatively skewed Lenovo Yoga Book. We discuss how Apple might enter the virtual and augmented reality market. Then we talk about some interesting new earphones from Here Plus, all nicely wrapped in premium bacon and Belgian chocolate.
And this is another episode of The Dane and the Pain, the show where nothing matters and everything is made of gold. How are you doing, Joel?
Nothing really matters, does it?
Not really, no.
It's, you know what? It's been a crazy week. I don't think I've shoveled this much snow in 15 years, and my L1 through 5 is having fits tonight, but that's okay.
Isn't that why you have children? Isn't that so they can do that stuff?
Well, so not to, toot our own horns or anything, but he actually did he's been shoveling a ton of stuff. We've helped neighbors shovel off roofs, driveways, kind of out and about, and we just kind of got everything cleaned up, and of course the forecast is another 14 inches of snow. Which is
goody.
I think that's like 40 centimeters, something right around there. So I can't. Yeah, maybe
14 inches is
30.
Yeah, it's about that.
Yeah, so
it's
there
like
you
35, 40 centimeters. It's a fair amount of snow
on top of everything else. So, but yeah, a good week nonetheless.
Yeah, right. So did it help that I sent pictures of the pool and sunshine and stuff? Did that make the snow go away faster?
Oh yeah, that was it.
Oh, good. I'm always glad to help.
It's pretty funny. The district here, the school district, they said, well, the buses are running behind schedule, so make sure all the children go down and wait at the highway for the bus because they can't come up into the neighborhoods. So in my own head, I'm thinking, great, you want all the kids who are playing and happy in the snow to go wait right next to the highway.
Oh, good. Yeah. It's kind of interesting because as much as I make fun of you, and we certainly don't get that level of snow here. We're close to the ski fields, and I've spoken about this before, but most people don't realize that you can actually go skiing in Australia. But we have reasonably good ski fields not far from here, about sort of 80, 90 minutes. But I used to live in Canada, in Alberta, which is like inland Canada, and was
we call that North Montana.
Yeah,
Alberta.
That's pretty much the same. So there was a lot of snow, right? There was just snow I think it was from September to about April. We just had snow. So I can certainly relate to this whole shoveling of snow all the time, and you just get used to it. You just is it only minus 15? Oh, that's all right. You're just waiting jeans for the school bus, and yeah, it's amazing how people adjust to these sort of things.
Well, Sam asked the great question today, which was, Dad, why don't we shovel the snow? And I didn't really have an answer. I started thinking, I'm like, nobody's ever asked me that question before.
No, it's a safety thing.
Anyway, so how's your week been?
Yeah, we had a few challenges, and I'm not going to go too much into detail, but it's been a bit of a tough week. So it's always nice to come out on the other side and kind of go back on to what you're supposed to do and kind of start building stuff again. So I'm still doing the same old, and one thing did happen though, and so I went up to Sydney for other purposes, which is 1 hour flight, 1 hour 20 minutes flight from Melbourne. And I went and visited the lovely people at Lenovo, or their agency. And lo and behold, they handed me what's called a yoga book. And I'd heard of the yoga book, and I don't know if you've heard of it before, but I kind of talked to you a little bit about it in the last couple of days.
Have you been reading that book?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of, what is it, the morning star and the bending dog, or what is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of poses, doesn't it?
So the yoga book is, how do I explain it? It's kind of like a tablet, but also like a laptop. So it has a screen which is about 10 inches, so it's quite small. The whole thing weighs about 600 grams, which is just over a pound in your imperial measurements. And when you hold it in your hand, it is kind of like holding a book. It's very, very slim, and you open it up and you just have this black surface. So you have the screen on one side, you open it and you have this black surface. And this surface is kind of why it exists. It's like, Lenovo would like to say that it's a new market segment. Yeah, maybe, I'm not sure. But this sort of black surface is a touch surface.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with a pen called a real pen, because it's not Unreal, it's just real. And this pen is touch sensitive. So, depending on how much you touch, it'll essentially draw a thicker or a thinner line if you use it as a pen. And it comes with this note paper, so you can actually take notes, writing notes, and say a program like OneNote will capture it exactly as you write it, which is really cool. That's quite a nice feature. So if you were taking notes in real time, it will digitize your handwriting. So that's kind of a nice feature, right? But you can certainly also draw on it. You can use it as a normal laptop because this touch surface has this. It's a bit of a party feature, sort of a woo.
Yeah.
It's called a hollow keyboard, and the keyboard, if you're not using it as a drawing surface, lights up out of this black surface. It looks really cool. I posted a photo on Twitter as well, and it is a bit of a wow factor. So you write on this magic surface, which is a keyboard, and it's a full keyboard, and it kind of works okay. I haven't used it that much, to be honest, but that is the kind of laptop-y part of it. So they're trying to kind of breach this creative space with sort of, lightweight note-taking, carry around everywhere kind of thing. It also has...
Is that a what kind of processor? I mean, is it a PC, if you will, or is it more of an average user?
So it comes in two flavors. You can get it as Android or with Windows 10, and I've got the Windows 10 version, not the Android version, and it has I'm not a hardware guy, but it's an M5 Intel processor.
So that's an Atom.
It's a mobile.
Yeah, that's
it's an Atom type thing. And it has 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of memory, and it has what appears to be an SD card slot as well, so you can expand it, which is kind of handy because 64 gig in today's money is not a lot. I installed Office on it. I installed a couple of the apps, and I'd sync the main things in my OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only got about 20 gig left. So, it kind of adds up real quick. So
it's really designed to be, obviously to store most of your stuff in cloud and,
for sure,
whatever your, maybe a few odds and ends.
So it does run Windows 10 without a problem. It got 13 hours of battery life, it says. I'm yet to experience that because I haven't actually run that. But I've got, right now I'm looking at it, 71% left, with 12 hours and 23 minutes remaining. So the battery life is pretty amazing.
Does it have Hello, the Hello feature, or does it?
No.
Okay. I was curious about that.
It has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi,
Oh.
but that's about it. It has I don't want to go too techie here or too hardware-y, but it has a micro USB port, which is also where you charge it. And it has a mini HDMI output as well, so you could connect it to another screen or projector as well, which I'll try and do at some point.
I was looking at the picture that you posted online, and it just seems incredibly thin. That's what kind of caught my eye. And
it is very thin.
And I use the Surface Book, and I'm like, it's thinner than that. I was like, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's. I think it's. I don't know. I'm guessing it would be when you close. I'm just looking at it now. It would be a centimeter, so 10 mil. So what's that? A third of an inch, something like that.
Jeez, that's crazy.
A bit more probably. I might be slightly exaggerating, but it's very thin. It's very thin. It feels very sturdy though, which is quite nice. There has this patented now Lenovo watch hinge you've probably seen, which is what the yoga series has in general.
Oh yeah, I think that's kind of like looks like a Gears or something like that. Or
It does, yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's
And
kind of cool.
it just makes it feel really really stable. It is pretty slow though. I must admit, it's not for heavy tasks. Like I would never edit video on it or do any sort of compilation of code, or it is
Yes,
for
that was I
Word.
was going to ask you. You haven't put VS on it yet.
No, I'm not going to. 4 gigs of RAM is not going to do anyone any favors. So it's for web, it's for emails, it's for taking notes, and it certainly does well with that. Which is, to be fair, that is what the majority of people do anyway.
Yep.
That is, what everybody is mainly doing. So I'm keen to get to use it more, to be honest, just to see, especially with the keyboard, just because it's flat, as in there's no outline of the keys physically. It's all just light that comes up. So yeah.
So is it more?
That's
I wonder if
interesting.
it's more like. Do you think it's aimed? Okay, so I just looked up the price here. I'm like, what, 550? 550? Is that US? That sounds about right.
Yeah, US. It's $1,000 in Australia.
Well, that I mean, for a US price, it seems about right. Maybe a little bit
Yeah.
rich, but
I'm only thinking in what they're trying to, the target market, right? Is it students? Possibly. Could be. But if you were a student and you had to buy a laptop for, say, $600 or $1,000 in Australia, there are many alternatives that you could get that has bigger screens and more RAM and whatnot. Would you really choose this? I don't know. If you're an artist or a creative person, if you're drawing, yeah, it might have merit. But then again, you probably choose something a bit more powerful. Although I don't know, I don't do a lot of drawing. I just don't know how that would fit in maybe. So I'm
I know
a bit torn. Where does it fit in?
I'm not that I got Grace an HP laptop that was a 15-inch laptop with similar. I think it had more RAM, a little more storage, and it was 380 or 390 or something like that around Christmas time. But part of it might be quality too, because I think Lenovo, at least from what I've heard from people, I don't own one, makes really good hardware. So
It is.
You
I
get
mean,
what you pay for.
without trying to be too biased or anything, it is nice hardware. It feels really sturdy. It kind of almost feels like you could drop it if you don't do it on purpose. If you accidentally dropped it or something, it might survive. I would even think. It just had that sort of.
Have you done
quite
Have you
nice
done much
feel to
typing on it? Because you're talking about that. Virtual
I've done a
keyboard.
bit. Yeah, you do get used to it, but I still can't type without looking down. I have to look where my fingers are, because I just don't have the physical contact with where's the next key type thing.
That tactile.
It does have
feedback
It does have a
also.
tactile feedback
it does.
to it.
Was it the buzz or?
Which is loud.
Oh.
It's very loud. It goes brrr.
Oh.
Which is, I don't know if you can even. I'm trying to type here.
Unrelated. Have you seen the keyboards?
Can you hear this at all?
Oh yeah, I can hear that. It sounds a little bit
So I don't know if that
Morse
comes out in
code.
the recording, but it's. Yeah, it does actually. It does actually. So that you get that sound,
Yeah.
and there's a setting that says you can take off audible keyboard or something, and I did, and it's still there. So maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know.
We should look at these another time maybe. But there is a keyboard that I saw the other day, and name escapes me, but it's designed to replicate the feel of, and I'm sure you're old enough to know what a real typewriter feels like, but the sound and the feel of an old typewriter keyboard. And it actually looks kind of cool, but anyways, I digress. What else do you think about the the Lenovo?
Well, that was sort of my first impressions. I do like the form factor, if I'm honest. I like that it's really small and really nimble. But yeah, I'm just not convinced about the keyboard yet.
Well,
but I might.
Well, I mean, I imagine if you were traveling or whatever, and you're running around. I mean, carrying a big 15-inch laptop is not necessarily the funnest thing to do in the world. So, that's one of the things I like about the Surface Book is it scrolls away and you hardly even notice it's there. So, maybe there's a use case there as well. So are you going to do a review on it then?
Yeah, I'm writing up something on it as well. So
Oh,
there'll be a
cool.
lot more pictures and a lot more of that stuff.
Awesome.
Just because I think it deserves it. It is an unusual device, and it is. I don't know. It's not something I've seen before, and that's why I can't quite place it, obviously, because it's not a tablet, it's not a laptop, it's just somewhere in between all that.
Well, we'll look forward to that.
Oh,
An
indeed.
unusual device for an unusual man.
Yeah, and I got one too as well, Joel. Um,
What else is going
I
on?
Well, I wanted to pick your brain on something. So I had a conversation the other day, and again it was about Hololens. I do a lot of Hololens stuff at the moment, and there was an article that came out um, from Business Insider, I think it was. Let me just bring it up there. And the article was basically about how apparently Alex Kipman, now the creator of the Hololens, has kind of already said where Microsoft's already so far ahead in the mixed reality space. And I had a conversation with someone about, well, Apple has still not launched anything in that space, whether it's AR or VR, um, or anything in that sort of digital reality
Hmm.
space. And I have no doubt that Apple is cooking up something, because I think they would be mad not to. And there's definitely, it'll be a much more consumer focused device than the HoloLens is. And that's probably why it's taken a little bit longer. Because normally what Apple does is that they'll see what the market does, just like they did with tablets, and then they'll create a device that kind of does the bare minimum that people want, which means that most people will buy it because it does 80% of what 80% of people want. And this is a quite a good strategy because they create very nice hardware and they tend to sell a lot of it. So I'm sure that there is an AR or a VR device from Apple coming at some point in, I don't know, not long, maybe 6 months, 12 months, something like that. And I just wanted to pick your brain on what you think this could look like, and what you think the impact would be, and can Apple actually kind of, just like they did with the iPad, can they just launch a device and it automatically becomes a success, or are we going to see them struggle as well? Just like the HoloLens is kind of there. People appreciate that it's there, but it's just we need more devices right now to make it a real viable solution, I think.
Gosh, I think I may have postulated or talked
Well,
about
that's
this.
all we're doing. We're
Yeah.
just
Well,
postulating.
so it's interesting because when we talked about this a couple of years ago, and I'm not trying to pat my own back, but I think I was pretty um, circumspect about what would happen with the market. I think we both kind of agreed that AR would be used primarily in business type sorts of things, and VR would be more entertainment. And VR hasn't really taken off, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all kind of been true. Um, but I saw today, or I've been reading several different notes about how Oculus is really twisting, and how they may want to partner with Microsoft with this mixed reality. And it's still, I think I said it before, it wouldn't be a surprise if Apple is working with Microsoft at some level uh, in AR, VR. And that maybe that's just me being optimistic. But I would say that if Apple does something on their own, or is doing something on their own, I would suspect that what they do is much more refined than Oculus, or say the HoloLens, or any of these devices that are out there, but very focused. If you remember when the
Mm-hmm.
iPhone came out, you know the, what you could use it for was very limited, but
Oh,
it
it was. Yeah,
worked, and it worked every time.
kinda.
Well, yeah, you get my point. So that
Uh huh.
and they but they also had they had the advantage of being the leader. I just can't imagine them coming out with something that's anything like that's on the market right now. If they did, it would have to be something that like I said, was very focused, that had a very polished but limited amount of focus as far as use case. So
Hmm.
it's going to be consumer facing, and it's going to be it's not going to they're not going to allow 10,000 people to come up with ideas to run on this platform. They're going to closely guard it, like more than anything else,
Hmm.
because what they have to be able to do is avoid um, what has happened with a lot of the other devices. I mean, the reality is that at this point, the winners from VR have been the PC makers, because the hardware makers
This is
supporting
true.
the headsets, that's what's been selling, and that's what they're making money on. Whether in China or in the States, I think I said it before too. Microsoft is uniquely positioned because they sell it all. If you look in their store, they sell and support all of those devices. And
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
the Oculus came out, I think that Minecraft for Minecraft was, a few days later they announced it's available. It's kind of like I'm kind of get back to your original question about what do I think is going to happen with Apple. Um, I think they either have to get a good partner, or they got to get a good partner, and they have to be really really focused, because there's really very little. Their ability to grow at the rate that they have in the past is diminishing, and so I don't know if they're. It's not a rocket. I think that's it's not a rocket that's ready to take off. That market. That's the other thing. Timing is
Yeah.
everything.
I think you're right in some regards. I don't think they're working with Microsoft just because Apple. Um, they have been buying several startups in the AR VR space, and it's
Sure.
probably to acquire some kind of technology. I would have thought. Generally, Apple never ever comments on their acquisition, so it's kind of hard to know. And and they have allegedly, these are all rumors, of course. They have a whole research department, a few hundred people working just purely on AR and VR. So I think there will be a consumer device, and it will be something that will integrate very very tightly with an iPhone or an iPad. I have no doubt, because they don't want people to leave that ecosystem, and I think that they will um, allow people to update apps that then can run on this device in some form, some shape or form. Whether that's as an AR app or a VR app, I don't know. It could be both, perhaps. I mean, if they created a device that could function both as VR and AR, like with a screen that could go opaque or see through, that would be fantastic. That would be really cool. Um, but it's going to be tightly integrated with the Apple ecosystem. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Speculating is difficult, and it's fun. It's fun sometimes, and sometimes
Yep.
people think that I'm a hater necessarily with Apple, and I'm not. I just you know it's really easy. Yeah. Anyways, I just had to deal with a lot of Apple fanboys and girls, and that part aggravates me.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm not a hater either. I hope they'll push this market. They'll invent something that bring something out that really takes a new angle, or get people interested in this whole segment, because I think it'll benefit everybody.
well, the so they run up against a lot of different issues. So no one is going to be caught blindsided by Apple again. And something has changed quite a lot since the last time. Is we have a nationalist leading our country now, and so there's a different set of pressures that they haven't dealt with before. And so and they're not going to be the first in any market, and they don't control what 80% of the smartphone market. So I
Hmm.
think that both supports and also takes shots at your position, and that's tightly integrated. I think that, as a lot of people have pointed out, they need to look out. They need to look beyond their own platform, and I don't know what that looks like. But if the leaders in the company want it to continue to grow, it can't
Hmm.
be what it has been. It's just,
No,
I mean, that
I mean,
just doesn't work in business. I mean, if you look around the world, tell me a 100-year-old company that does exactly the same thing it did 10, 20 years ago. So they have to, I think they have to change. I don't know if that's the answer, but I just, I don't see them being insular, you know.
no, perhaps not. So there's a couple of companies that they've actually purchased that that do make this quite interesting. They have they've purchased something called Prime Sense, which is a 3D body sensing firm. So that it's kind of like the Kinect. Essentially, it has 3D depth technology. So that could imply that there's some sort of spatial mapping coming, which is very much a HoloLens strong point. They've acquired a company called FaceShift, which it's kind of like Snapchat, that it tracks your facial features, but allows you to have a complete avatar that follows your face in real time. So could this be a social media thing that you can then play in this VR world and have your actual face be transmitted? I don't know. Again, it's a 3D thing that could relate to VR and AR. And then they've acquired a company called Emotioned, and they have this really cool facial expression analysis tool that Apple acquired about a year ago. So I think with these acquisitions in mind, there's certainly something coming from Apple. I don't think they just bought these things on a whim. They're very competent companies, small, sure, but the technologies that they have been very, very specialized, and you can certainly see them in a VR AR context. So that's kind of my take on it. I think there'll be something that is consumer oriented, that will be new in some way, and the rest of it will be, lack of a better term, just copied from whatever's there existing, but made really well.
Yeah, and so if you kind of if you think about the sort of big platforms out there that would you could use something like this with, something like Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook. Those are all pretty visually oriented, right? Lots of pictures, lots of sharing, and when you were telling me about the people that they work with, I know that they also had, I don't know if they bought patents from Carl Zeiss or they got somebody that worked there or something like that. And so it occurred to me that maybe what, I was talking about folks, maybe what they're doing is something along the lines of a goggle or glasses that are sort of some sort of way of sharing via social with what you're seeing right now. I'm kind of talking a little bit about VR, but not necessarily the HoloLens sort of thing where you've got the computer and the schedule and all that in front of you in virtual space, where it's a little bit simpler and more focused, and maybe more focused on those social features. And as you mentioned, with some integrated into a handheld device if necessary, and that doesn't require as much power on your head like with a HoloLens, until you could fit it in something like, say, sort of ski goggles or some sort of cool glasses, I guess, if glasses can be cool. But as a former glasswear, I have contacts now. But yeah, so maybe it's something like that. If you look out there, there's so much, there's so much speculation, and it's hard to know. And really,
Oh, it is.
there's not much coming out
Absolutely.
of Apple at all as far as leaks.
No, and that's pretty usual. I think they're pretty good at holding their cards tight to the body.
They certainly have enough money.
Well, yes, they certainly do, and I don't think they're just going to throw it away. If I'm honest, that has not been the case in the past as such. At least not for the last 15 years. So, well, it's true.
They're not getting any of my money.
None of my money. No, I would be keen to try it out. I'm certainly not dismissing the idea of a really cool Apple VR device or AR device. But yeah, we're yet to see it. Absolutely.
So actually, I have to say that I sometimes stumble upon an Apple website, and I saw a comparison. This made me laugh. I mean, like coffee out my nose. HoloLens is similar to Google Glass.
I know, I saw that too. And it just isn't.
Like,
But
like,
anyway.
in what sense? In that they're both worn on your head, I guess.
And they have, you can see some sort of digital asset, and that's about it, I think.
Oh, I don't know why, but that kind of stuff just sticks in my head like a sharp object. It's like, God,
Yeah,
why would you
it's,
say that?
and it's, I've kind of like, my mission right now is to kind of educate people on mixed reality because most people don't understand that it's different from augmented reality. And I've done interviews and articles and all this sort of stuff on it because I think it's really important. There's a scenario for augmented reality that is very good and very powerful, and there's a scenario for virtual reality and a scenario for mixed reality, and they're different, and they all have different aims and different key features that makes them powerful in their own way. And I think when you put them all in the same bucket, it just washes each other out, and it all just becomes it's just some VR nonsense, and that's sad. So I'm trying to counteract that.
Try to be on the positive side of the force, huh?
Exactly. I'm using my tractor beam.
Well, what else is going on in the world?
Well, you found an interesting product. So we're doing a bit of a product show today. Like last time, we did a bit more sort of soft skilly, especially about the being successful and that list that we found. But we're talking products today, and you found some headphones, earbuds. What are they?
Oh God, now you got me going. Here, what are they called? Here
Here
one, yeah.
one.
Yeah, so I follow a guy. Last name's Hall. It was the Surface. I don't know who he was. He was like the boss for Surface, the COO or something for Surface Line or the Surface Business Line for Microsoft for a long time. Very pleasant, funny fellow online, and I just noticed that he'd taken a position with his company that makes these wireless, or is going to make these wireless uh, earbuds, for lack of a better word, and it's called Hear One.
Mm-hmm.
And what I liked about it is like it's similar to what we just said with Apple. It's like so this is not a these are not designed to be a an earbud that somebody's going to take running with them. They're not designed to be
Mm-hmm.
something you give to your teenager, but they have a lot of really neat features in that you can tune out background noise. You can, along with your smartphone that they have an app that goes with it. You can focus on conversations in a room, which I so you ever get to see those people walking around with the Bluetooth thing sticking on the side of their heads? They look like something out of a
Um,
Star Trek movie.
yeah, in Australia we have a word for that. We call them wankers.
I'm familiar with that term from when I lived in England, and I don't think it's a nice word, but I'll leave that to you. But
No.
so these are very discreet and small, um, and I I th- I kind of like this idea. Now I don't like the price, which is I think that's around 300 US, and they actually I don't think they start shipping.
They are
Yeah,
three
and
hundred dollars. Yes.
they don't start shipping until the end of this. I think the end of the month. But I like, yeah, I like
It's
the
April.
idea that it's not like an Apple product. It's doing more, and it's doing more of the specific things that you would want in an ear. If you're wearing these in your ear, you're traveling, you're on a plane, and you want to tune out you in your yoga book review, and the kid's crying next to you. Then
Hmm.
you get off the plane and you're in an airport. You've got to take a phone call. You can listen to the phone call. You want to listen to some music, and you don't have the headphones on. I guess there's still at risk that you can lose them. But it seems like these are really nice option. and really beautiful. And I actually wanted to bring them up because, I think that generally successful people that do really good things when they work for one company, quite often when they go to another company, they they want to be involved with something that's going to be just as good, right? And that doesn't always
Mm.
work out that way,
Yep.
but it sort of popped into my head that this is a product and a company you want to keep your eye on.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the website. So here's my take on it. We all know of noise
Yep.
cancelling headphones, and I use those for the many plane trips that I do, and they're amazing. They're big. Well, I use my
Uh-huh.
Nokia Monster
Yep.
headphones. They're big red things, but they're beautiful. They work so well. Their Bose has a really good pair of noise cancelling headphones, and you can also get noise cancelling earphones. And some of them are Bluetooth and wireless. The ones I have are wireless, but they also can be wired, which is handy for playing because you can't, Bluetooth connect to your screen in front of you. And these seems to be trying to bridge the gap of everything. Is the best way I can explain it. So they're reasonably large wireless earbuds. So they hopefully fit well in your ear. That's my number one concern is that a lot of people just can't wear earbuds because they get all ears are so different, right?
I
So
think
maybe they'll fit, maybe they
I
won't.
think four or
That's the
five different kinds of or sizes of like you can adjust it.
They
But
do,
if you
yeah.
got a really large head like I do, I don't know, it might be trouble.
Yeah, it's just there's just some ears that just don't work with earphones. It's a bit like some people just get seasick from VR. That's just how it is. And so I'm keen to see how they address that, if at all. They might not worry too much about it if it's just a small segment. Then you can have your own profile, so you can actually fine tune these to how you like to listen to audio, whether it's music or conversation or whatever it is. Which is you connect them to your app on an iPhone, as far as I can tell. And then they have speech amplification, they have noise filters, they have real world volume, so you can actually filter out the real world and tune it in or out, which is
Yeah.
kind of an interesting idea. Um, and they have some really clever tech in terms of the wireless transmission of the signal as well. So I think they can kind of warrant a $300 mark. I don't think that's outrageous if it is a high end quality product. But I'm keen to see if all of these features is what people
Well,
actually
it's
going to
also a
use.
first product too.
But it
I mean,
certainly seems like really
that's the
nice.
other part about it. It's like, well,
Mm,
if it was Bose putting them out, that maybe they would be a little less hesitant to shell out the money for them. But it's a new company,
for
a new
sure.
product. On the other hand, they're probably because they are new, they're likely to be more responsive if people are having issues.
It says here playtime
I
is
think
up to
that's
2 hours.
with.
That to
Well,
me
I
could be a problem.
think I'm not sure. I have to look at that again. 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours. It's not a lot. I mean, it comes with a portable charging case, so actually you can charge 3 times by just plugging them into the case they come in, which is a neat feature. But 2 hours. If I'm on a 10-hour plane trip, I'll use my headphones for like
So
7 of
three
those.
extra charges. So they're
Um,
thinking that if you're doing that, I'm thinking like a movie or something. 2 hours isn't going to cover your movie,
mm,
but that battery life is not that hot.
no,
But
and they might address that. I don't know. But 2 hours playtime, and then it takes 2.5 hours to
so, and
charge up,
I
kind
see.
of
I would
thing.
be in the case where if I'm on a flight or I'm doing something like that, I rarely will have headphones, or earbuds in longer than a couple hours. I wear them when I run, and I use them when I travel.
Uh-huh.
Occasionally when I go for a walk, I usually will listen to the news at night via BBC or something through the earbuds. But that's I I I mean I don't know the last time I had them in for more than 2 hours. So I mean, that's just a use case. Um,
Yeah, definitely for earbuds. For headphones, I almost sleep with them on the plane because they drown
yeah.
out all the background noise.
Thankfully, I'm not on flights that
So
I can
it's
sleep.
but the interesting product. I actually really quite appreciate this. These
Well, the other part
earphones.
about it, I thought
They
was
seem
kind of
like a
interesting
good step
too was
forward.
that they're called the Here One, and here is the Nokia mapping company, and I thought, Well, yeah, I
which is not
get
Nokia
that
anymore, but yes.
they sold that, but I thought it was interesting in that it's like I wonder if any. I'm sure maybe they didn't have a patent or whatever or trademark on the name here. I just thought that was interesting that they were able to get away with
Yeah, I
using
don't
it.
know.
So that's anyways. So that's here one, and they've got a website. And Brian Hall
Mm-hmm.
on Twitter, go look him up. Cool dude, follow him. He's smart, funny. He'll make you feel better about yourself.
Yep.
And I don't work. I don't
Ooh,
work
that's
for him.
almost
So
too good.
I mean, I've never met him. Just like Lars, I've never met you. I got no reason to be say nice things about him except for the way he's treated me. So.
Well, you never say
Not to
anything
your
nice about me,
face
so
ever.
I don't know what
No.
I did different.
What? Oh my God! Have we
dear.
been talking for? Jeez.
Yeah, so it's
I was gonna say, Lars, I saw
I
this.
know,
I
I
saw
know,
this
it's
question,
crazy,
and
isn't it?
so I wanted to ask you. You see the scrap sometimes on social media, but I thought it was kind of funny. So, can you name a product or something that you used to do that if you told a teenager about it right now, that they would have no idea what you're talking about? Do you understand the question? Yeah,
Teenager. So they're up to
yeah.
about 19, and so that means they're born in what,
Oh God, you're using
1998,
math on me.
97, 98,
Yeah, so something
or
that
later. Oh, well, I'm just trying to think of what was there. Something like connecting your computer to the TV, for a screen, like, or maybe a Walkman, a cassette player, Walkman. I know that my 11-year-old thought that was most interesting, that you could put a cassette tape into something big and bulky, and then it'll play some rubbish sound. Um, I don't know.
no,
What did you have
I
something
saw
in
the
mind?
question and some of the answers I thought were just really interesting, and it was a nice reminder of how old we are. I think the one that I listed was I used to have to pay $1.35 a minute for or $1.35 for overseas phone calls, and that was per minute. So and I think anymore,
Oh yeah,
right now we're recording via Skype, and I'm not paying anything. I'm not sure about you. I mean, I'm paying
no,
for the internet
exactly.
use.
That's right. Yeah.
And when the first time I was overseas, I remember, I mean, I didn't call back home for 6 months because it was so expensive. And that's the kind of,
Yeah, so I know I lived in I was in Canada. I lived in Canada for a year in 96, 97, and I did have email that did exist. So I used to email my parents and say, "Hey, can we talk? On Tuesday at 4 o'clock?" Blah, 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 blah," and we would have a list each that we would go through and what we had to say, because we had to be that quick because it was not cheap to ring.
anyways, that's a good question to ask. Did you have a joke? Because I'm looking forward to it if you do.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's that time, don't you?
It's the joke of the week, so come along with me. I cannot promise it will be funny, but it's the joke of the week.
So, what do you get when you put root beer in a square glass?
Oh, the square root of beer?
We just get beer. That's right. I thought you might get that one. It had beer in it. Hey!
Oh, I'm tired, Lars.
Ah,
Well, it's been nice to
yeah,
talk,
it's getting
and
that way, isn't it?
I'm really excited. We have more guests coming up on future shows, and people
We
who
do,
have
we
been
do.
listening in and giving feedback. We really appreciate that. If you're having any problems downloading the app or whatever, talk to Lars. Don't talk to me.
This is very true. Now, we're more than happy to take any technical advice, or we take comments as well. Comments on Twitter, comments.
Oh,
We
yeah,
now have a
that's right.
YouTube channel. So if you want to watch, for lack of a better term, if you want to listen to us on YouTube, you can do that as well. You can subscribe to us. It's just the Dane and the Pain. It's the name of the channel. And we're also on Facebook, and we're on Twitter, and we have the daneandthepain.com. So plenty of ways that we can get into your head.
I'm aiming for their hearts, Lars.
Yes, that's what I meant.
All right. Have a good night.
Exactly. Okay. Bye. This has been another episode of The Dane and the Pain with Joel and Lars. We look forward to having you back next time. Until then, toodaloo.